By 2030, there will be 8.5 billion humans on Earth. This should be good. Population growth has always corresponded with economic growth, as more people essentially means more workers. But will this relationship continue as we progress towards the exponential rise of automation? In other words, will humans even be needed anymore? It may be hard to imagine, but it is entirely possible that in just the next 6 years, the relationship between humanity and the world we share will change forever. It will be a completely new paradigm, where humans are no longer used for their labor, instead merely reaping the rewards of the output that artificial intelligence produces. This is known as the post-labor stage of society. I'm sure some of you will have dismissed this theory already. Perhaps you think AI will never have the capabilities to replace every single job, or maybe not enough people will get on board for it to stick. But economic theory tells us that this transition is not only possible, but entirely inevitable. I'll explain why. If there is one thing you learn when studying capitalism, it is that companies want to achieve a singular goal: to provide a profit to its shareholders. To do this, they must minimize costs. A huge cost to every business is worker salary. So as things inevitably get tough, businesses will never hesitate to cut costs, no matter its form. We are already seeing this occurring, with companies laying off copywriters, graphic designers, even coders are at risk. Why pay $50,000 a year when a $20 a month subscription to ChatGPT can do the same task just as well? Sure, current layoffs are limited to the capabilities of current AI models, but this is just the very start. How will we know that AI will evolve to replace every single job in a short period of time? Well, this relies on AI growing on the exponential curve, with its capabilities and progress currently standing near the bottom. The top of the curve represents the pinnacle of AI, way past the defining event known as the Singularity, which we will get into soon. This, of course, will not happen right away, so let's illustrate this transitionary period with a theoretical timeline. Take this with a grain of salt. 2023 will forever be known as the first year of the AI revolution. It was when people started taking it seriously. Large language models like GPT-4 and Google Bard gave the ability to write essays, work out math problems, and create code, while DALL-E 3 could instantly generate high-quality images. 2024, the content AI produces, especially with GPT-5, is now far more reliable and complex, replacing many jobs in creative sectors. Higher powers struggle to control its use in spreading disinformation online around election season, as bots swarm social media. 2025, AI is incredible at performing narrow tasks, surpassing humans at diagnosing disease, teaching, and researching science. It also starts to exhibit some general intelligence, such as reasoning, planning, learning, and common sense. However, it still lacks the flexibility and intuition of human intelligence. 2026, the ability to collaborate and adapt to human emotion removes the need for therapists, GPs, and financial advisors. Universal basic income finally becomes a key talking point as millions become unemployed, though governments are too slow and hesitant to implement and mass riots break out. 2027, the cost problem in the mass production of robotics is solved, allowing the automation of many manual, hard labor jobs. Construction companies and factories start to utilize labor that can now work 24/7 without complaint, costing a fraction of human labor. In other news, scientific progress is so advanced that the aging process is halted and cures to most diseases are discovered. 2028, most AI models are open source and multimodal, meaning anyone at any time can use the same model for pretty much anything. The best versions are better than every human at most things, dramatically increasing efficiency and productivity. AI is increasingly used to improve its own capabilities, training on its own data collected from previous versions. 2029, the singularity occurs, a point of no return. Artificial super intelligence surpasses all human intelligence to a point where humans are no longer in control. It improves itself at an extreme exponential rate, reaching a limit constrained only by the energy it needs to operate. 2030. So many scenarios can occur at this point. AI is essentially a self-aware, omnipotent God, so it can choose to create, sustain, or destroy humanity. Previous decisions by humanity will steer its fate. If all goes well, AI transforms the world into a utopian post-labor society, where the economic problem of resource scarcity is solved, and the human objective of survival through work is no longer primary. By this point, the systems forming society have completely turned on their head. The transition transition to this stage will present many problems for the world to figure out. Many mistakes will be made. As OpenAI CEO Sam Altman said, the hard part will not be building the AI, but the human side of adapting to it. A key question is, will society still be capitalistic? Probably not. Even in just the next few years, governments will become much larger. As previously mentioned, corporations have no obligation to redistribute wealth. Although they will see huge profits over the next years, governments will have to provide relief to the millions of unemployed. UBI, where every single person will receive a state-issued paycheck regardless of their employment or wealth status, is the most popular policy proposal. But how can they afford this? First, they will tax AI companies into oblivion as their output comprises most of the entire economy. Soon, as companies lay off their workers en masse, the first of two main pillars of capitalism will be violated, which is the exploitation of human labor. The second is the creation of artificial scarcity. There needs to be problems, or a lack of something for corporations to solve, for them to exist. In a world of abundance and the ability to solve most problems within seconds, this pillar will crumble. So, by 2030, society will either be a variation of socialism or a completely new system invented along the way. Capitalism is simply not compatible with a post-labor world. It is possible that, in their greed, extremely wealthy and powerful donors will force the persistence of a form of capitalism for far too long. This would be a hellscape, characterized by the most extreme inequality possible. And would money exist? It is a social construct after all. Perhaps the lack of scarcity removes the need for exchange, making everything theoretically free. Or money could be used for exchange, but will no longer be a measure of wealth. Because in this world, wealth will not really matter. Instead, people will likely strive for other forms of progression, such as status, skill, or family. This begs the question, what will the meaning of life be for humans without work? What exactly could we do? Some will immerse themselves in a Ready Player One type simulation. Others will relax and do what they love. Some will use the opportunity to travel and explore our planet. But what if the human purpose becomes exploration of more than just Earth? As a species, we could focus our efforts on spreading our presence with the colonization of Mars, ensuring our survival. Or, if breakthroughs in physics wildly accelerate thanks to superintelligence, there may even be a way to leave our solar system. One inevitability is that humans will merge with AI. The only question is, to what extent? We are already part machine, as our phones are essentially an extension of ourselves. But whether we become cyberpunk-like cyborgs, or we upload our minds to a collective net, there may come a time when it is impossible to discern ourselves from artificiality. Then there's the possibility that we prevent aging and disease, meaning we only expire intentionally or through accidents. This may alleviate the dread of mortality for some, but I'm sure many, particularly the first generation of people affected, will lose themselves in the cycle of boredom, anxiety, and depression that arises from the lack of structure, a natural life cycle, and an end point. Many will question if we will even be human at this stage. The old joke is that there are two things we cannot avoid: death and taxes. In this new world, neither will be mandatory.